Our guest today is Professor uh, Hansford. Gosh, would you believe I've gotten a senior moment?
Justin Hansford.
Justin Hansford, right. A name that is certainly synonymous with law and fame, good topics, he is a professor at Howard University. I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself. I know it's a long page, but just a little to familiarize ourselves. Justin, welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. And yes, I'm a professor at Howard University Law School. I'm also the executive director and founder of the Thurgood Marshall Civil Rights Center, which has been around now for, I believe it's entering our eighth year,
Yes,
working on the issues involving civil rights and human rights.
right.
And most relevant here is I'm very, very honored to be working on the effort to posthumously exonerate Marcus Garvey.
Yes. That's he's from our territory, the Caribbean.
Yes, that's right.
Although I'm from Trinidad, he's from Jamaica, but we are all one. And
Right.
same kind of struggle. It must be, I don't know, it must be amazing to you at this stage for what Marcus Garvey has done and meant to our people that we are still fighting to have him exonerated. What other things would you say that causes the institutions to do this?
Well, Marcus Garvey's um, vision and his work was so powerful. His story is one that's inspirational, but it's not really a story that is just about, can't we all get along? It's a very strong story that encourages economic independence, economic competitiveness,
Yes,
uh, self-sufficiency, um, self-confidence, and it's not something that necessarily is always going to fit into the mainstream.
right.
It's the people who have talked about Garvey's legacy the most, like Rastafarians and Bob Marley and people like that. They're a symbol of inspiration, and they speak about really important content like justice and human rights and truth, and those are things that sometimes go against what's happening in mainstream society, especially here in the United States. We see what's
Right.
happening politically. So it's not always easy to get those political leaders to say, well, we want to stand front and center for Marcus Garvey. We're fighting for it though, and I feel as confident as I ever have felt before that we are going to get some type of traction from this president in the next few days. I feel that we're as close as we've ever been.
Oh,
So I want to say that if that happens, it will be a wonderful day because we will help the world understand the truth about his story.
right.
And that with Garvey, that I think many of us who are deep into um, Garveyism or deep into his philosophies understand the truth of his story. But for a lot of people, the fact that he was convicted for fraud, which essentially is the argument that the Black Star Line and all the work he
Yes,
did
yes,
was just a con, that does, in some people's eyes, delegitimize his contributions and who he was, and makes it seem like it was all a farce, and
right,
that limits the people who could take those ideas seriously. And
right,
Pan-Africanism and all those things, are wrapped up into it. So I think it will be an opportunity for us to revive his legacy and make it more relevant for young people today to take and move forward on their own.
right. So true. But I often wonder why is it the Caribbean governments or Caribbean institutions aren't vigilant in propagating Garvey's story and Garvey's need to be freed? Do you have a sense, an idea?
I don't know the answer to that. It would, to me, if I was a president in the Caribbean or a prime minister in the Caribbean, that's an easy way to inspire your community and get people on your side to champion a historical figure like that because he stands for so many positive principles
Yeah.
and he's so beloved in so many places in the Caribbean. So to me, that would be an easy way, and it's free. I mean, it doesn't cost anything,
Right,
and
right,
it will really put you in a good political place. So I don't know why they haven't done it. I encourage them to do so, and I think that when we do get this, not if, but when we do get this posthumous pardon from President Biden, I'm going to be optimistic. I'm hoping that all of these Caribbean prime ministers and ambassadors come to a big party here in Washington that I hope that we're going to host that party in Howard University.
right, right,
Oh,
right.
and they'll be able to speak out more forcefully about their admiration for Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, yeah. I hope it does come, but somehow I'm frightened at what I'm seeing that we are about to have onslaughted on us. Um,
Yeah.
what are the chances do you see us in such venue or vernacular of what we are getting? How do you see the struggle continuing?
Well, it's a major transition that's about to happen. But I think our struggle is going to continue. And I always say that um, it's I think that we don't have, at least for me, I don't think that we have a clear understanding of how the struggle grows. It doesn't always grow through friendly conditions. Sometimes in the harsher conditions,
Uh,
people get even more tough. And I think back about, the previous Trump administration, for example, you had the Muslim ban, which caused people to go to the airports and protect people who were discriminated against. You had George Floyd's killing, which brought people into the streets. So it's not always the case that the more friendly the government is, the better the struggle. It was a very George Floyd atrocity
right,
caused a reaction that led people into a higher level of struggle.
right,
So to me, I think that to take an optimistic view, sometimes the harsher the conditions, the stronger the struggle is in response
right,
to
right.
what's taking place.
Yeah, like my good friend Stokely Carmichael would always tell me, a la tua continua.
Lucha continua. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
Ah, that's a great man.
yeah,
Great man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what are some of the other things that you are involved in? I mean, at the Thurgood Marshall Center, what are some of the things that you are involved in?
We're doing a lot of work on reparations. We had in Washington, D.C., we are very close to passing a bill for a reparations commission to study reparations for not just enslavement, but Jim Crow and its effects on blacks in Washington.
Hmm.
I'm part of something called the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent, which is a platform at the UN to fight for human rights for Black people throughout the diaspora. And the Caribbean has been central to that. I was in Barbados in December,
Yeah.
um, and Prime Minister Mia Mottley is a champion asking also for reparations for countries in the Caribbean. Haiti at the front of that. Haiti has
Yeah.
been suffering because of economic deprivation that is in many ways the fault of the French government continuing to extract debt. But many Caribbean nations, Jamaica has been talked about very eloquently by Sir Hilary Beckles there in Jamaica.
Mhm.
Uh, the, um, I think it's the Vice Chancellor or the Chancellor of the University of West Indies. He's talked about the need for reparations in Jamaica. There's a really strong movement coming out of the Caribbean and and also echoing around the world for those who benefited from colonialism and enslavement to make things right and to really do justice. And as we move into a time when all these climate catastrophes are piling up, we see what's happening in Los Angeles right now.
Right.
So that's going to disproportionately harm our folks in the Caribbean, especially, but all over the world where our people are. We're going to be at the front lines, and so we deserve some climate reparations as well. And Mia
Right.
Motley has been very strong on that. So that's some of the work that we're doing at the Thurgood Marshall Center. We do that international work in addition to working on things here in Washington, D.C. and nationally, doing work on everything from police um, violence and housing justice and the list goes on. We have a long list of issues that we focus on.
Right.
But to me, it all comes back to this idea of fixing and atoning for the past so that we can have more justice in the present and the future.
Right. 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 Now, how do you see young people coping with such activities that's needed to be handed over to them as well?
Yeah, that's the beautiful part of teaching at a place like Howard University. These young people come in and they're full of energy, and they are they are coping. I want to say that, to be honest with you, behind it during the pandemic,
Yeah.
it was tough. A lot of young people really suffered from that lack of social interaction from being on lockdown.
Right. Right. Right.
And I saw a impact on their ability to have social skills with each other, and their adjustment psychologically in terms of mental health. It
Yeah.
was very stressful on them, but we're coming into 4 or 5 years after COVID. I think young people are really now coming out of that period and are really enthusiastic about being part of these social justice movements and movements for justice. And they bring all the new energy and the arts and the music and the enthusiasm.
Right.
And so it's really a joy to be able to teach them and to talk to them about these questions, knowing that they're gonna be the ones to take it and move it forward in the next 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite agree, man. I am so happy because I work with a group of young people, my daughter, my nephew, Brian, and I mean, it's just fascinating to see what they do and how they advance and how they accommodate situations. It's just a tremendous reality. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a very different approach. A lot of their activities are online more so than ever before, and
Right, right,
so
right, right,
very
right,
different worlds.
right, right.
Now with AI happening, with artificial intelligence coming in,
Yes, yes,
what the world is going to look like for them in 20 years, who knows what AI will do to
right, yeah,
daily life in the next 20 or 30 years.
yeah, yes. Any perspectives? What do you think?
Well, there's one of the things that we need to do is really train our people in how to use that tool, how to use AI as a tool, because those who are trained in that technology are going to have the upper hand.
Yes,
And you don't want to be coming late and folks have already ran laps around you using that tool. So learning how to use the chat GBT and what the right prompts are and how that can be an effective tool. That's important. It's the many people have said in the education space, oh, our students going to start asking chat GBT for all the answers on the exams. And they're not going to learn, not going to learn anything because they're going to just be able to use chat
right,
GBT.
right,
That's not the way to use the tool. The way to use it is going to be um, to allow students to use it, but acknowledge the things that ChatGPT still can't do
right,
and the
right,
things that they need to learn to do. Like maybe ChatGPT can find information, but they still need to be the ones to connect the dots and to process information. Especially for people of African descent and Black people,
yes,
ChatGPT hasn't really been designed in a way that speaks to our experience. There was a newspaper article a little while back where uh, a uh, a reporter, Karen Atiashi on the Washington Post talked to a ChatGPT bot that was supposed to be an African American bot,
Uh-huh.
and asked her like basic questions about African American history, and the bot didn't know, and the bot was using slang wrong and all these things. So it's not really trained for for the Black experience right now.
Right,
So we're gonna have to figure out how to address those types of issues going forward.
right. That- Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for talking to you. It's been very enlightening, and I wish you, continued success. But as we close, I'd like to end up where we started, with the
Yeah.
proclamation of freedom for Marcus Garvey. Give us a sense of you see that coming and what it would bring.
I do see that coming. I'm very optimistic. I would say that, you know, um, the proclamation is something that would, affirm that Marcus Garvey was innocent in history. It would acknowledge how he was wronged. I think people may know the story, but he was convicted of mail fraud in July of 1923 in a trial that was widely considered to be a miscarriage of justice. An all-white jury convicted him of using the Black Star Line just as a way to make money, even though he never even paid himself a salary.
Yes, yes,
But he was convicted and put in jail and deported. And this it's been a campaign that has been going on for over 100 years now. Just about 101 years, because as soon as the conviction happened, the campaign to exonerate him began.
yes,
His son, Dr. Julius Garvey, is 91 years old. He's
yes,
been fighting for this for most of his life.
right, right.
And this exoneration will uplift Garvey's contribution to the cause of international human rights and justice and civil rights for all people worldwide. I mean, we're going to make sure that this is something that people around the world are aware of, and it's a moment that will allow us to put his contributions into better, clearer, more accurate perspective, and it'll allow us to make sure that his concepts, his values, his vision, it's going to allow us to make sure that those things stay alive in the work of people around the world. I know for me in my life and my works, like I mentioned, the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent and reparations, a lot of that is driven by my admiration for Marcus Garvey. So I
Yes,
try to keep his values alive and his vision alive. And I hope that this exoneration will inspire more people to do the same thing.
right. Well, thank you very much. Good luck, Godspeed, and success in your path. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Okay. I've been talking with Professor Justin Hansford of the Thurgood Marshall Center, and as he is on a path to lead the front to freeing Marcus Garvey, giving him his right to due. This is Von Martin. Caribbeana continues.